Commander Jake Morrison stared out at the black void of space through the bridge window of the UES Liberty. The stars looked peaceful, but Jake knew better. He had been patrolling this area for 5 years now, and he understood what lay beyond those distant lights. Human space was out there, hidden behind invisible walls that no alien had ever crossed and lived to tell about it. The Liberty moved slowly along the outer edge of what the galaxy called the Dead Zone. It stretched for hundreds of light years, in every direction around Earth and the human colonies. No alien ship had entered this space in 300 years and returned home. Those who tried simply vanished without a trace. "Sir, we have movement on the long-range sensors," said Lieutenant Grace Kelly from her station. Her fingers danced across the control panel as she read the data. "Looks like another probe ship. Zephyrian design, small scout class." Jake nodded and walked over to look at her screen. The alien ship was tiny compared to the Liberty, probably only 3 crew members aboard. It moved carefully toward the invisible border of human space, testing the waters like a scared animal approaching a trap. "Same as always," Jake said quietly. "They come close, they take readings, then they run away when their sensors start picking up the anomalies." Grace smiled a little. "The anomalies we create, you mean?" Jake put his finger to his lips. Even though they were alone on the bridge, they had to be careful about what they said. The truth about human space was the most guarded secret in the galaxy, and for good reason. Far away on Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter sat in a meeting room deep beneath the Capitol building. Around the long table sat 20 other military commanders, each one responsible for different sections of the human border. The room had no windows, and the walls were lined with metal that blocked all forms of electronic spying. "The probe attempts are increasing," Admiral Carter said as she looked at the reports in front of her. "Last month we detected 47 alien ships testing our borders. The month before that, it was 31. They're getting braver." Colonel Pete Martinez leaned forward in his chair. He was in charge of the Psychological Warfare Division, the group that made sure aliens stayed afraid of human space. "The fear is wearing off," he said. 300 years is a long time. The older alien species still remember the stories, but the younger ones are starting to ask questions." "What kind of questions?" asked Captain Ryan Brooks. He commanded one of the stealth ships that watched the border. "They want to know what's really in human space," Pete said. "They're tired of being afraid of something they've never seen. Some of their leaders are starting to say the humans are just hiding behind old stories." Admiral Carter stood up and walked to the large screen on the wall. It showed a map of known space, with human territory marked in red. The red area was much smaller than the space controlled by the major alien powers, but it was completely empty of non-human ships. "For 300 years, we've made them believe that human space is protected by forces beyond their understanding," she said. "Ancient guardians, dimensional weapons, creatures from outside reality. We've fed them just enough evidence to keep the fear alive." She pressed a button, and the screen changed to show energy readings and sensor data. "Our holographic projectors create massive energy signatures that look like something no known technology could produce. Our gravitational manipulators make space itself seem to bend and twist. Our AI systems generate signals that sound like the voices of cosmic horrors. And it's worked perfectly," said Dr. Amy Stone, the team's expert on alien psychology. "Different species have different fears, so we customize the illusions. The warrior races see evidence of super weapons. The scientific species detect impossible physics. The religious ones hear the voices of angry gods." Captain Brooks raised his hand. "But what happens when they finally figure out it's all fake?" The room went quiet. Everyone knew this day might come eventually. The deception couldn't last forever. "That's why we're here," Admiral Carter said. We need to prepare for the possibility that our secret gets out. Are we ready to defend human space with real weapons instead of fake monsters? Colonel Martinez shook his head. We have maybe 50 ships that could fight in a real battle. The major alien powers have thousands. If they all work together, they could overwhelm us in a matter of days. Then we make sure they never work together, Dr. Stone said. We've been studying alien politics for centuries. We know which species hate each other, which ones compete for resources, which ones have old grudges. If they ever unite against us, we make sure that alliance falls apart. Meanwhile, on the alien homeworld of Zentara, High Commander Vex High paced back and forth in front of the Galactic Council. The council chamber was enormous, with representatives from dozens of different species sitting in curved rows that rose up toward the ceiling. Each species looked different, but they all shared one thing in common: fear of human space. For too long, we have allowed this mystery to control our actions, Vex High said, his voice echoing through the chamber. The humans control some of the richest star systems in the galaxy, but we cannot reach them because of old stories and censor ghosts. The representative from the ethereal race stood up. She was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly. The energy readings from human space are beyond anything in our databases, she said. Whatever protects that territory is not of this universe. Exactly my point, Vex High replied. We don't know what those readings mean, because we've never gotten close enough to study them properly. Every probe we send disappears or returns with crews too terrified to give useful reports. A Korthik general slammed his fist on his desk. The Korthik were a warrior race, covered in thick scales and armed with natural claws. My fleet has lost 17 ships trying to enter human space. 17. Each one simply vanished from our sensors, as if it never existed. Which proves nothing except that something is destroying our ships, Vex High said. It could be automatic. Defense systems. It could be natural phenomena we don't understand. It could even be the humans themselves, using technology we haven't seen before. The council erupted in angry voices as different species argued about what might be lurking in human space. Some believed the humans had made deals with cosmic forces beyond understanding. Others thought the space itself had been cursed by ancient powers. A few suspected the humans were hiding something much simpler, but didn't want to risk their ships finding out. Vex High waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. I propose we stop sending small probe ships that can be easily destroyed or scared away. Instead, we gather a fleet from all our species. A force so large that no single weapon or creature could stop it. We go to human space together, and we finally learn the truth. The chamber fell silent. The idea of a joint expedition was bold, but it was also dangerous. If they were wrong about human space being defendable, they might lose the largest fleet ever assembled. The ethereal representative spoke first. How large a fleet are you proposing? 1,000 ships, Vex High said. Warships, science vessels, support craft, representatives from every major species in the galaxy. If the humans are hiding behind illusions, a force that size will overwhelm their defenses. If there really are cosmic guardians protecting them, then we'll have enough firepower to fight back. The council members looked at each other nervously. 1,000 ships was more than most species owned in total. It would take months to organize such a fleet, and the cost would be enormous, but the mystery of human space had haunted the galaxy for too long. Trade routes had to go around human territory, adding weeks to commercial flights. Rich mining systems sat empty because no one dared approach them. The fear was costing them billions of credits every year. We will consider your proposal, said the council leader, an ancient being whose species was so old that no one remembered their original name. Give us time to discuss this with our governments. Vex High bowed respectfully and left the chamber. As he walked down the long hallway outside, he thought about what such an expedition might find. Part of him hoped the humans really were protected by cosmic forces. It would be terrifying, but at least it would be honest. The other part of him suspected they would find something much more mundane hiding behind all the mystery. And if that was true, the humans would have a lot of explaining to do. Captain Ryan Brooks watched the alien fleet approach through the sensors of his stealth ship, the U.E.S. Phantom. The ship was invisible to most detection systems, hidden behind layers of advanced technology that bent light and absorbed energy signatures. From his position, Ryan could see the massive collection of alien vessels without being seen himself. "Count them again," he said to his communications officer, Lieutenant Danny Wright. Danny's fingers moved across his control board as he analyzed the sensor data. "Still showing the same numbers, sir. 943 ships from 12. Different species. The largest fleet I've ever seen." Ryan felt his stomach tighten. The human deception had worked for 3 centuries, but now the aliens were bringing enough force to potentially overwhelm any defense, real or fake. He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "Admiral Carter, this is Phantom. The alien fleet just 2 days out from our outer perimeter. I count nearly 1,000 ships, including heavy battlecruisers from the Korthic Empire and science vessels. From the Ethereal Collective." Admiral Carter's voice crackled through the secure link. "Understood, Captain. Are the projection systems ready?" "All systems are online and tested," Ryan replied. "Dr. Stone's psychological profiles suggest we should start with dimensional anomalies for the scientific ships, then escalate to phantom warships for the military vessels." On Earth, Dr. Amy Stone sat in the command center surrounded by screens, showing alien fleet movements. She had spent years studying how different alien species thought and what they feared most. Each species in the approaching fleet would see exactly what their minds were programmed to fear. "The ethereals believe strongly in higher dimensions," she explained to Colonel Pete Martinez, who was coordinating the deception. "Show them gravitational waves that suggest something massive moving through folded space. The Korthic respect only superior firepower, so they need to see weapons that could destroy their entire fleet." Pete nodded and turned to his team of technicians. "Activate Projection Array 7. Begin Dimensional Cascade Simulation. Make it look like something the size of a moon is shifting between realities." The technicians worked quickly at their stations. Across human space, hidden devices came online. Holographic projectors created images of impossible structures floating in the void. Gravitational manipulators sent waves of distorted spacetime toward the alien sensors. Advanced AI systems generated signals that seemed to come from creatures larger than planets. Aboard the alien flagship, Commander Vex High studied the readings his science officer was showing him. Falunis was one of the best scientists in the Ethereal Collective, and her face showed both excitement and terror as she read the data. "Commander, these energy patterns don't match anything in our databases," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "The gravitational distortions suggest something with the mass of a gas giant, but there's nothing visible on optical sensors." General Kronter, the Korthic military advisor, growled from his position at the tactical station. "Invisible enemies are still enemies. My weapons can destroy what I cannot see." "But can your weapons destroy something that exists in 7 dimensions simultaneously?" Alanis asked. "Because that's what the physics readings suggest. We're looking at entities that exist partially outside normal spacetime." Vex High felt a chill run down his spine. He had hoped to find advanced human technology, something that could be understood and countered. Instead, his best scientists were telling him they faced something that shouldn't be possible according to known physics. "Send in a scout probe," he ordered. "Get us closer readings." The small probe ship moved forward, its sensors recording everything. as it approached the edge of human space. For several minutes, everything seemed normal. Then the probe's signals became distorted, filled with static and impossible harmonics. The last transmission from the probe was a video feed showing space itself seeming to ripple like water. Massive shapes moved through the distortions, too large and strange to be real ships. The shapes seemed to notice the probe, and appendages that might have been weapons, or might have been tentacles, reached out toward the small vessel dot. Then the transmission cut off completely. Captain Ryan Brooks smiled as he watched the probes. Destruction from his hidden position. The holographic projectors had worked perfectly, creating the illusion of cosmic horrors that existed beyond normal reality. The probe had actually been destroyed by a simple laser, but the aliens would never know that. "Nice work," he said to his crew. "The actors in our little play performed beautifully." Lieutenant Danny Wright looked concerned as he monitored alien communications. "Sir, they're not running away like the previous expeditions. They're regrouping and planning another approach." On the alien flagship, General Kronter was arguing for a full military assault. "Whatever destroyed that probe can be destroyed in return," he insisted. "We outnumber any possible defense force 1,000 to 1. "You're thinking like these entities follow normal warfare rules," Valinus replied. "What if they don't exist? In our dimension most of the time? What if our weapons pass right through them?" Commander Vex High studied the tactical displays showing his massive fleet. Part of him wanted to order a retreat and leave human space to its mysterious guardians. But he had convinced 12 species to contribute ships to this expedition. Billions of credits had been spent. The political cost of turning back now would be enormous. "We'll proceed, but carefully," he decided. "Split the fleet into 3 groups. Send them in from different directions. If these entities can destroy one group, maybe the other 2 can learn something useful." Dr. Stone watched the alien fleet movements from her position in Earth's command center. "They're adapting faster than expected," she told Admiral Carter. "Most species would have retreated by now, but Vex High is too smart to be scared off by one demonstration." "Then we escalate," Admiral Carter replied. "Show them something that will make them think twice about continuing." Colonel Pete Martinez activated the next phase of the deception. Across human space, more devices came online. This time, the illusions were even more spectacular. Entire star systems seemed to flicker in and out of existence. Space itself appeared to tear open, revealing glimpses of other realities filled with incomprehensible structures. The alien fleet's sensors detected massive energy buildups that suggested weapons capable of destroying entire worlds. Ships that had been dead in space for millennia suddenly powered up and began moving with impossible speed. Ancient voices spoke across all communication frequencies in languages that predated known civilization. On the flagship, Thalanis nearly collapsed as her instruments overloaded with impossible data. "Commander, we need to retreat immediately," she gasped. "The entities aren't just defending this space. They're preparing to expand outward. If we stay here, they might follow us home." General Kronter looked at his tactical displays and saw weapon signatures that dwarfed anything his people had ever built. Ships in his fleet were reporting system failures as the strange energies interfered with their electronics. Several vessels had lost navigation completely and were drifting helplessly. "How many ships have we lost?" Vex High asked. 17 confirmed destroyed, Kronter replied. 34 more have suffered major system damage. And we haven't even entered human space yet. Actually, no alien ships had been destroyed at all. The missing vessels were hiding behind holographic screens, their crews unconscious from gas that would leave them with memories of cosmic horrors. When they woke up, they would be found drifting near the fleet with stories of unspeakable things. In the void, Captain Ryan Brooks coordinated the rescue operations from his stealth ship. Human medical teams boarded the missing alien vessels, treated the crews for minor injuries that would support their false memories, and planted evidence of encounters with otherworldly entities. Make sure the physical evidence matches the psychological profiles, he told his teams. The Korthik need to see battle damage from impossible weapons. The Ethereals need to find energy residues that violate known physics. Lieutenant Grace Kelly monitored the alien communications from her position aboard another stealth ship. They're scared, she reported. Really scared, but they're also frustrated. Some of the military commanders are pushing for a direct assault. Despite the losses, the alien fleet held position at the edge of human space for 3 days, while their leaders argued about what to do next. Scientific teams analyzed the strange readings their instruments had recorded. Military advisors calculated the firepower needed to fight enemies that might not exist in normal space. Meanwhile, human teams worked around the clock to maintain the illusion. Holographic projectors needed constant adjustment to remain convincing. The AI systems generating alien voices had to be fed new data to keep their performances believable. Gravitational manipulators required careful calibration to create space-time distortions. That looked threatening, but didn't actually damage anything. Dr. Stone barely slept during those 3 days. She knew the deception was reaching its limits. "We can't keep this up indefinitely," she told Admiral Carter. "The aliens are taking detailed sensor readings. Eventually, one of their scientists will notice something doesn't add up." "How long do we have?" Carter asked. "Maybe a week if we're lucky," Stone replied. "Less if T." Lieutenant Grace Kelly guided her interceptor through the maze of holographic projectors and gravitational manipulators that created the illusion of cosmic horrors defending human space. Her small ship moved between the invisible devices, checking their power levels and making sure the massive deception continued to work perfectly. "Projector Array 12 is running hot," she reported to the command center on Earth. "We might need to cycle it down for maintenance." Colonel Pete Martinez responded immediately through her communication system. "Negative on the shutdown. The alien fleet is too close. Keep that array running no matter what." Grace frowned as she looked at her instruments. The projector was operating at 130% of its safe capacity. If it overloaded, it could cause a cascade failure. That would shut down multiple arrays. But orders were orders. Understood. Command. Maintaining current power levels. 3 light minutes away, the alien fleet continued its advance toward human space. Commander Vex High stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as his sensors detected increasingly impossible phenomena. Space itself seemed to be twisting into knots ahead of them, and massive energy signatures suggested the presence of beings with the power to destroy entire worlds. "Status report," he called to his science officer. Thalenis looked up from her instruments, her pale blue face showing stress and confusion. "The readings are getting stronger as we approach, Commander. Whatever is defending this space is preparing for battle. Energy outputs are increasing exponentially." "How many entities are we facing?" asked General Kronder from his tactical station. "It's impossible to tell," Thalenis replied. "The energy patterns overlap and interfere with each other. There could be dozens of them, or it could be just a few very large ones." Vex High nodded grimly. His fleet was the largest in galactic history, but if they were facing creatures that existed partially outside normal space-time, numbers might not matter. Aboard the U.S. Defender, Captain Danny Wright coordinated the human response to the alien advance. His ship was one of 5 real warships hidden among the holographic illusions, ready to provide actual defense if the deception failed completely. "All stealth ships maintain positions," he ordered. "Do not engage unless specifically ordered. Our job is to remain invisible and record everything for later analysis." Grace Kelly continued her patrol route, monitoring the projector arrays that were creating the illusion of otherworldly guardians. She was flying past Array 12 when it happened. The overloaded projector sparked once, flickered, and then shut. Down completely. For exactly 3 seconds, a section of space that had been filled with writhing cosmic horror was suddenly empty. The massive tentacled entity that had been guarding that approach route simply vanished, revealing nothing but stars and the small maintenance vessel that Grace was piloting. 3 seconds later, backup systems kicked in and the illusion resumed. The cosmic guardian reappeared, writhing menacingly in the void, as if nothing had happened. But 3 seconds was enough. Thalanis had been watching that exact section of space when the projector failed. Her instruments recorded the sudden disappearance and reappearance of the entity, along with the brief appearance of what looked like a small human spacecraft. "Commander," she said quietly, staring at her readouts, "I think we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" Vex-High asked, moving to her station. Thalanis replayed the sensor data on her screen. "Watch this energy signature pattern. See how it drops to 0 for exactly 3.2 seconds, then returns to the same level as before?" Vex-High studied the display. "Equipment malfunction on our end?" "No, sir. I ran diagnostics on all our sensors. They're working perfectly." Thalanis highlighted another part of the data. "And look at this. During those 3 seconds when the entity disappeared, our sensors detected a small spacecraft in the same location. Human design, single pilot." The bridge went quiet as the implications sank in. If the cosmic guardians were illusions created by human technology, then everything they had feared for 3 centuries was fake. General Cronter leaned over Thalanis' shoulder to study the data. "Are you certain about this?" "I'm analyzing the energy patterns now," she replied, her fingers moving quickly across her controls. "If these entities are artificial constructs, they should show regular power fluctuations consistent with technological systems." Grace Kelly realized something was wrong when her communication system crackled with urgent messages from Earth Command. "Grace, we detected a projector failure in your sector," Colonel Martinez said. "Report status immediately." "Array 12 suffered a temporary shutdown," Grace replied. "Backup systems restored the illusion within seconds." "I don't think the aliens could have noticed such a brief." "They noticed," Martinez interrupted. "We're tracking increased sensor activity from the alien science ships. They're analyzing the energy patterns of our projectors." Grace felt her heart sink. After 3 centuries of perfect deception, had she just caused the exposure of humanity's greatest secret? On the alien flagship, Thalanis continued her analysis of the sensor data. The more she studied the readings, the more convinced she became that the cosmic guardians were sophisticated illusions. "Commander, I need to share my findings with the Fleet Science Council," she said. "If I'm right about this, we're not facing cosmic entities at all." Vex-High considered the request. If Thalanis was wrong, sharing unproven theories could cause panic in the fleet. But if she was right, they needed to know immediately. "Send your data to the other science ships," he decided. "Tell them to conduct their own analysis and report back within the hour." Admiral Lisa Carter received the alert in Earth's command. Sent her just as alien communication traffic spiked across all frequencies. The various species in the fleet were sharing data and conducting joint analysis of the human defenses. "They're figuring it out," Dr. Amy Stone said, reading the intercepted alien communications. "Multiple science teams are finding inconsistencies in our projections." Carter felt 3 centuries of careful planning beginning to collapse. "How long before they're certain?" "Hours, maybe less," Stone replied. "Once they start actively scanning for technological signatures instead of biological ones, they'll find our equipment." Colonel Martinez activated emergency protocols that had been planned for this exact scenario. All projection arrays Reduce power to minimum safe levels, he ordered. Stealth ships, prepare for possible combat. If they discover the truth, we may have to fight our way out of this. Captain Ryan Brooks received the emergency orders aboard his stealth ship. You heard the colonel. He told his crew. Battle stations. If this goes bad, we're the only thing standing between the alien fleet and Earth. On the alien flagship, the Science Council's report arrived exactly 53 minutes after Thalanis had shared her data. Representatives from 6 different species had analyzed the sensor readings, and their conclusions were unanimous. Commander Vex High, said the lead scientist from the Zephyrian Collective, we have reached a consensus. The entities defending. Human space are artificial constructs created by advanced holographic technology. The humans have been deceiving us for 3 centuries. The bridge erupted in angry voices as the alien officers realized they had been tricked. General Kronter slammed his fist on his console hard enough to crack the display screen. 300 years. He roared. 300 years of avoiding this space because we were afraid of fairy tales and light shows. Vex High felt a mixture of anger and grudging admiration. The humans had managed to keep the entire galaxy at bay using nothing but fear and sophisticated illusions. It was either the greatest military strategy in history or the most insulting trick ever played. What are your orders, Commander? Asked his navigation officer. Vex High looked at the tactical display, showing his massive fleet approaching the edge of human space. 900 ships against whatever real defenses the humans might have. If the Cosmic Guardians were fake, then the humans were probably much weaker than they appeared, but they had also proven to be far more clever than anyone had imagined. Reduce speed to 1/4 impulse, he ordered. Open a communication channel to the Human Command Authority. Sir? General Kronter looked confused. We could destroy whatever real defenses they have in a matter of hours. Probably, Vex High agreed. But first, I want to talk to whoever has been pulling off the greatest deception in galactic history. Anyone smart enough to fool the entire galaxy for 3 centuries deserves a conversation before we start shooting. Grace Kelly received new orders as she continued her patrol among the now useless holographic projectors. Return to base immediately, Colonel Martinez told her. The deception is blown. We're switching to diplomatic protocols. As she turned her interceptor toward the nearest human base, Grace wondered what would happen next. The aliens knew the truth now, but they hadn't started shooting yet. Maybe there was still hope for a peaceful resolution. Or maybe humanity's 3 centuries of borrowed time had finally run out. On Earth, Admiral Carter authorized the activation of humanity's real defenses for the first time in 300 years. Hidden weapon platforms powered up throughout human space. Stealth ships moved into attack positions. Every human colony received orders to prepare for possible invasion. But she also authorized something else, the active. The meeting took place on Haven Point, a neutral space station that orbited between human and alien territory. The station had been built centuries ago as a trading post, but it had been abandoned when human space became a no-go zone. Now it served as the perfect place for the most important diplomatic meeting in galactic history. Commander Vex High arrived with a small diplomatic team, including Thalanis and 2 security officers. On the human side, Dr. Amy Stone represented Earth's government, accompanied by Major Tony Silva from Military Intelligence and Ambassador Kate Miller, humanity's first official contact with alien governments. The meeting room was simple, with a round table and chairs that could accommodate different alien body types. Large windows showed the stars beyond, including the distant glow of Earth's sun. Before we begin, Vex High said as they took their seats, I want to say that I'm impressed. Your people managed to keep the entire galaxy away from your territory for 3 centuries using nothing but illusions and fear. That takes remarkable planning and patience. Dr. Stone nodded. Thank you, Commander. But I suspect you didn't come here just to compliment our deception skills. You're right, Vexhai replied. My fleet represents 12 different species and nearly 1,000 warships. Many of my officers want immediate answers, and some are calling for military action against human space as punishment for the deception. Major Silva leaned forward. And what do you want, Commander? I want to understand why, Vexhai said simply. Why did humanity choose to hide behind illusions instead of joining the galactic community? What were you afraid of? Dr. Stone had prepared for this question, but she still felt nervous as she began to speak. To answer that, I need to tell you about something that happened 400 years ago. Something that nearly destroyed humanity completely. She activated a holographic projector in the center of the table. Images appeared showing Earth as it had been centuries ago, blue and green and beautiful. Then the images changed, showing the same planet covered in dark clouds and empty cities. 4 centuries ago, Earth had a population of 12 billion humans. Dr. Stone continued. We were expanding rapidly, colonizing new worlds, developing advanced technology. We thought we were ready to take our place among the stars. The images showed space stations and colony ships, bustling with human activity. Then came pictures of medical facilities and quarantine zones. A plague appeared, Dr. Stone said quietly. We never discovered where it came from. It might have been natural, or it might have been a biological weapon created by one of our own governments. The plague spread faster than we could contain it. Thalanis studied the medical data appearing in the hologram. What was the mortality rate? 60%, Major Silva answered. Within 50 years, Earth's population dropped from 12 billion to less than 5 billion. Our colonies were abandoned as people fled back to Earth for medical treatment that didn't exist. The holographic display showed empty space stations drifting in the void, their corridors dark and lifeless. Colony worlds that had once supported millions of humans were reduced to small settlements of survivors. By the time the plague burned itself out, Dr. Stone continued, humanity was a broken species. We had the knowledge to build starships and energy weapons, but we barely had enough people to maintain what we already had. Commander Vexhai studied the population charts floating above the table. How long did it take to recover? We're still recovering, Ambassador Miller said. Current human population across all worlds is about 8 billion. We've regained our pre-plague numbers, but it took us 3 centuries to get there. The alien delegation exchanged glances. They had assumed human space contained the same population density as other major civilizations. Learning that humanity was actually a small, recovering species changed everything. But that still doesn't explain the deception, Vexhai pointed out. Why didn't you simply ask for help from the galactic community? Major Silva activated another set of displays showing alien military capabilities. Because we studied your civilizations before making contact, he said. What we learned scared us more than any plague. The holographic data showed fleet compositions and military doctrine for various alien species. The Korthic Empire alone had more warships than humanity had total population. We discovered that first contact between civilizations usually goes one of 3 ways, Silva continued. The weaker species becomes a client state of the stronger one. The stronger species conquers the weaker one outright, or both species fight. A war that destroys one or both civilizations. Dr. Stone pulled up historical records of alien first contacts. In the past 1,000 years, only 12% of first contact scenarios resulted in 2 equal, independent civilizations. The rest ended in conquest, absorption, or mutual destruction. We also learned something else about humanity that worried us, Silva added. Our psychological profiles showed that humans are naturally aggressive compared to most galactic species. We adapt quickly to new technology. We reproduce faster than average, and we have a strong drive to expand and explore. Thalanis nodded slowly. You were afraid that other species would see you as a threat. Exactly, Dr. Stone said. A small, aggressive species with advanced technology and a history of rapid expansion. Even weakened by the plague, humanity would have been seen as a potential danger to established galactic powers. The holographic display showed simulation results based on various first contact scenarios. In most cases, the alien powers formed coalitions to contain or eliminate the human threat before it could grow stronger. So you decided to hide instead, Vexai said. Not hide, Ambassador Miller corrected. We decided to wait. We needed time to rebuild our population and strengthen our civilization. But we also needed to make sure no one would bother us during that recovery period. Major Silva smiled slightly. Enter Captain Helen Ross and the Strategic Deception Initiative. The hologram showed a human woman in a military uniform, standing in front of a planning board covered with diagrams and star charts. Captain Ross had been dead for 2 centuries, but her plan had shaped galactic politics for 300 years. Captain Ross was a military strategist and Zenith psychologist, Dr. Stone explained. She studied every known alien species and identified their greatest fears. The Corphic feared superior weapons. The Ethereals feared forces beyond scientific understanding. The religious species feared angry gods. So she created the illusion that human space was protected by exactly those things, Silva continued. Cosmic guardians, dimensional weapons, ancient entities from outside reality. Every species saw evidence of whatever they feared most. The holographic display showed the network of projectors, gravitational manipulators, and AI systems that had maintained the deception for 3 centuries. It was an impressive feat of engineering and psychology. The plan had 3 phases, Doctor Stone said. Phase 1 was creating the initial deception and establishing the quarantine. Phase 2 was maintaining the illusion while humanity recovered. Phase 3 was revealing the truth when we were strong enough to negotiate as equals. And you think you're strong enough now? Vexai asked. Major Silva activated displays showing current human military capabilities. We have 500 combat-capable starships, 47 defended worlds, and a population of 8 billion. Not enough to conquer anyone, but enough to defend ourselves against reasonable threats. More importantly, Ambassador Miller added, we're ready to contribute to galactic civilization instead of just hiding from it. We have unique technologies developed during our isolation, scientific discoveries that could benefit everyone, and perspectives that come from being outside the established political system. Commander Vexai studied the data for several minutes before speaking. You realize that many species will feel deceived and insulted by your actions. We're prepared for that, Dr. Stone said. We're also prepared to make reparations for any economic losses caused by the quarantine zone. Our preliminary calculations suggest trade route modifications cost the galactic economy about 50 billion credits per year. 50 billion credits times 300 years. Thylanis calculated quickly. That's 15 trillion credits in total economic impact. Major Silva nodded. We're prepared to pay compensation over time through technology transfers, mineral rights, and trade agreements. We're not asking for forgiveness without offering something in return. The alien delegation spent an hour reviewing the human proposals and asking detailed questions about population numbers, military capabilities, and technological developments. Finally, Commander Vexai leaned back in his chair. I need to discuss this with my fleet and the governments they represent, he said. But I have one more question. If your deception had never been discovered, how long would you have maintained it? Dr. Stone considered the question carefully. Our original plan called for revealing the truth within the next 50 years. We were already preparing diplomatic Initiatives when your fleet forced our hand. So this meeting would have happened eventually, even without our expedition? Yes, Ambassador Miller confirmed. We were never planning to hide forever. We just needed enough time to become strong. Enough to survive first contact. As the meeting ended and both delegations prepared to return to their ships, Vexhai found himself free. 6 months after the revelation at Haven Point, Ambassador Kate Miller stood in the newly constructed Interspecies Diplomatic Center on Luna. The building's main hall was designed to accommodate representatives from dozens of different alien species with adjustable gravity fields, atmospheric controls, and specialized seating for various body types. Today marked the signing of the Treaty of Soul, the document that would officially end humanity's 3-century quarantine and establish formal diplomatic relations with the galactic community. Kate felt nervous as she watched alien dignitaries file into the hall, but she also felt hopeful. Still hard to believe we made it this far, said Dr. Amy Stone, who now served as director of the Interspecies Understanding Institute. Her new organization studied alien psychology and cultural differences to prevent misunderstandings that could lead to conflict. It almost didn't happen, Kate replied, remembering the tense weeks after the first meeting with Commander Vexhai. Several alien species had demanded immediate military action against humanity as punishment for the deception. Others had called for economic sanctions that would have isolated Earth even more completely than the original quarantine. The breakthrough had come when the Ethereal Collective published their analysis of human technological developments during the isolation period. Humanity had created several innovations that could benefit the entire galaxy, including new medical techniques developed while fighting the plague, advanced holographic systems, and gravitational manipulation technology. The Zephyrians were the first to change their minds, Dr. Stone noted as she watched a delegation of crystalline beings take their seats. Once they realized our medical technology could extend their lifespans by 20%, suddenly our deception didn't seem so insulting. Commander Vexhai entered the hall, accompanied by his science officer Thalanis, who had become something of a celebrity in scientific circles for her role in exposing the human deception. She had also become an advocate for human inclusion in the galactic community. Ambassador Miller, Vexhai said as he approached the human delegation, I wanted to thank you personally before the ceremony begins. Your people's patience and strategic thinking may have prevented a war that would have cost millions of lives. Kate shook his hand, still amazed that what had started as potential first contact warfare had turned into genuine friendship. Willingness to listen instead of shoot first made all the difference, Commander. The past 6 months had been busy ones for both humans and aliens. Joint scientific teams had been established to study human innovations and adapt them for use by other species. Trade agreements had been negotiated to provide compensation for the economic losses caused by the quarantine. Most importantly, cultural exchange programs had begun to help different species understand each other better. Captain Ryan Brooks entered the hall wearing the new uniform of the Interspecies Patrol, a joint organization that would monitor the former quarantine zone and help prevent future conflicts. His ship, the UES Phantom, now carried a mixed crew of humans and aliens working together to maintain peace in the region. How's the mixed crew working out? Kate asked him. Ryan smiled. Better than expected. The Korthik navigation officer is teaching our pilots some interesting combat maneuvers, and our holographic specialist is showing the ethereal engineers how our projection systems work. It's amazing what people can accomplish when they're not trying to kill each other. The ceremony began with speeches from representatives of various alien governments. Each species had their own perspective on the revelation of humanity's deception, but most had come to view it as an impressive example of strategic thinking rather than an insult. The Korthek representative, General Kronter, had initially been one of the most vocal opponents of human inclusion in the galactic community. But even he had grudgingly admitted respect for humanity's military strategy. For 3 centuries, the humans convinced us they were protected by forces beyond our understanding. He said during his speech, they were right. The force protecting them was their own intelligence and patience. These are qualities that any warrior can respect. The ethereal representative spoke about the scientific benefits of human inclusion. The humans developed their technology in isolation, free from the assumptions and limitations that constrain our established scientific paradigms. Their fresh perspectives have already led to breakthroughs in multiple fields. When it came time for the human speech, Kate felt the weight of history on her shoulders. 3 centuries of careful planning had led to this moment. Today marks the end of humanity's isolation, she began, but it also marks the beginning of something greater. We spent 300 years learning to survive on our own. Now we're ready to learn how to thrive together with our neighbors among the stars. She paused, looking around the hall at the diverse collection of species represented there. We're sorry for the deception, but we're not sorry for the result. Humanity is stronger now than we were 4 centuries ago. We're ready to contribute to galactic civilization as partners rather than subordinates or conquerors. The treaty signing itself was a complex affair involving multiple documents in various alien languages and legal systems. Each species had different requirements for making agreements binding, and the human legal team had spent months learning alien contract law. As Kate signed the final document, she thought about Captain Helen Ross and the other architects of the Strategic Deception Initiative. They had gambled humanity's future on the belief that fear could buy them time to become strong enough to survive first contact. The gamble had paid off. After the ceremony, a reception was held in the observation deck overlooking Earth. Alien dignitaries mingled with human officials, sharing food, stories, and ideas for future cooperation. It was the first time in recorded history that so many different species had gathered in human space for peaceful purposes. Dr. Stone found herself in conversation with several alien scientists about the establishment of joint research facilities. We're particularly interested in studying how different species approach problem solving, she explained. Humans tend to think in terms of competition and conflict resolution, but other species have completely different cognitive frameworks. Thylanus nodded enthusiastically. The ethereals approach problems through pattern recognition and dimensional analysis. The Corthic use hierarchical decision trees based on honor and tradition. Studying these differences could help us all become better at working together. Meanwhile, Major Tony Silva discussed security arrangements with alien military officers. The former quarantine zone would need ongoing protection to prevent incidents between species that were still learning to trust each other. We're proposing a system of mixed patrols, he explained. Human stealth ships working with alien science vessels to monitor for potential problems. If anyone tries to restart old conflicts or exploit the transition period, we'll be ready. As the evening progressed, Kate found herself on a balcony overlooking the lunar surface with Commander Vex High. Earth hung in the black sky above them, blue and green and peaceful. Do you think this will work long term? Vex High asked. Dozens of different species trying to cooperate instead of competing? Kate considered the question carefully. I think it has to work, she said. The alternative is a galaxy divided into isolated, fearful civilizations that never reach their full potential. Humanity tried isolation for 3 centuries. It kept us safe, but it also kept us limited. And now? Now we get to find out what we can accomplish together, Kate replied. Humans have always been explorers and innovators. Working with alien partners will push us to develop ideas we never could have imagined alone. A year later, the first graduates of the Interspecies Academy received their diplomas in a ceremony attended by representatives from 23 different species. The students included young humans learning alien languages and customs, alongside alien youth studying human culture. And technology. Captain Danny Wright, now commanding the Joint Patrol Vessel UES Unity, watched the ceremony from orbit. His ship's crew included officers from 7 different species, and they had successfully prevented 3 potential conflicts in the former quarantine zone during their first year of operation. Remember when our biggest worry was maintaining the holographic projectors? Asked Lieutenant Grace Kelly, who now served as the ship's cultural liaison officer. Simpler times, Danny agreed. Though I have to admit, reality is turning out to be more interesting than our illusions ever were. The Treaty of Seoul had included provisions for gradually reducing human military secrecy while maintaining necessary security protocols. The holographic projection technology was shared with allied species for defensive purposes, while the gravitational manipulation systems were adapted for peaceful uses like terraforming and space construction. Dr. Stone's Interspecies Understanding Institute had become a model for other diplomatic organizations throughout the galaxy. Her research on psychological compatibility between species was being used to prevent conflicts and facilitate cooperation in regions far from human space. The key insight, she explained to a gathering of galactic diplomats, is that every species has both rational fears and irrational prejudices. The rational fears need to be addressed through conquer.